Hello. Good evening. How are you all doing tonight? Yeah. I'm a little tired. I was out trying to go look at the comet, and it's like 90 degrees outside right now in Houston. So, hello, Mark Young. Thanks. How's it going? Uh, good evening, and thanks for joining. I'm a little disjointed. I was out there by the kind of standing by the river slash bayou that is near me, and it's kind of warm, trying to keep mosquitoes away, and there's bats flying around and stuff. But just the heat, I think, was a bit, and the wind had just died down, so it was just kind of warm. Oh, wow. Good evening, Turf. Wow, just made a fire. Yeah, not here. Not here. Um, Although we're supposed to get some cool weather here on cool for us on Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to that. Good evening, Dark Shades. How's it going? Thanks for joining. Yeah. Have has any did anybody get a chance to see the comet tonight or last night? Yesterday, I was able to see it naked eye pretty low to the horizon, but I was kind of, even though I was in the city, I was kind of sheltered from some of the lights, so I was kind of able to see it a little bit. It looked kind of like a fuzzy star, and with uh, with binoculars, I was able to see a bit more. Tonight, I don't think I could even see it because the location I thought I'd go to, or that I went to, that I thought would be better because of less obstructions near the horizon. I mean, there were like office buildings there, and I thought it wouldn't be as bright. And I guess I haven't been down there at night because there's some hiking trails on the other side of the river, and they have giant spotlights and they're shining. Um, I was in an area where they weren't shining, but then I walked a little further up and like they're shining right in my face. Oh, good, great. Got to see it last night. Cool. Yeah, I today it wasn't, at least for me, it wasn't like really any better than yesterday. It was a little higher, but I think over the next couple days it'll just, as it gets further and further or higher and higher, and also this as the moon kind of goes towards being full, so it's like more um, kind of opposite of the comet, so it's maybe not as much light in the sky. But really, realistically, I think I'm going to end up um, driving south of the city because that's probably the nearest area I can get to where I don't have an obstructed horizon. There aren't many trees down there because it's down towards it's like the coastal plain heading towards the Gulf of Mexico, and then to the west there isn't like any really much in the way of city. It's mostly kind of south of the city. Yeah, it was dim high. I didn't see it until it was low. I mean, the problem was as it got lower, it was getting closer to the building, so it just. Um, I mean, I did get some photos of it, but with but I didn't even bother taking my mirrorless camera down the trail. I ended up just like I was going to go back to my car if it was brighter, but it was kind of the the where I chose to take the photos wasn't great. So I need to go south of the city probably tomorrow or Wednesday. Um, but I did get a few photos with my iPhone. I actually brought like a tripod. Uh, I brought like a little collapsible, not quite a tripod. It's more like a portable light stand with a MagSafe mount on it, and so it's pretty light and it's fine for the phone. It's kind of wobbly. There wasn't much wind, and I was triggering it with my watch. One of the advantages of the Apple monoculture, but I was able to do that. I kind of just manually overrode the exposures to be like 10 seconds, and but the problem ultimately the problem is there was just too much light from the buildings. I need to go south of the city, so that's okay. So the other bit of news, yeah, not it was impressive, not Hale Bopp impressive, but nice. Yeah, I mean, I've seen other people's photos and they look really, really impressive. Um, but since I was just trying to do it from do trying to do not there's a it's pretty funny. The reason I looked up is there's a spider on the ceiling, and it's not a tiny one either. But I'm gonna take a photo of this. Anyway, sorry. It's just it was big enough to be distracting. Yeah, didn't get a good photo because of course I look up and it starts moving. That would be that's kind of disconcerting. Anyway, so in other news, I had continued to try to burn to get that. I had continued to try to generate the Seestar ALP image for the Raspberry Pi. I kept running into issues, so I manually put a Raspberry Pi image on here and installed Seestar ALP using the script that comes with Seestar ALP. So I'm gonna. I'm just looking for the spider, making sure it doesn't try to make a cameo. Um, so I'm going to actually use this tonight, mostly because I want to see how running some of the features like two live views will work. Well, how well they perform. So we'll see how it works. But unfortunately, it's not the image. It I tried a few more times yesterday, didn't work. So I'm going to have to try again. But in the meantime, I'm going to plug this in, and if we switch to the computer interface here, did that actually switch? Didn't switch. Always, it's not cooperative. There. This is actually the copy I'm running on my local computer. And once the Raspberry Pi boots up, I will use that image. I will use that version. Oh, hey. Well, that was interesting. I didn't actually hit reload. I guess the browser had tried and it just loaded. Well, that's cool. Now, the problem is this is just out of the box, vanilla Seestar ALP. So it has the telescope defined as alpha as opposed to A, and it only has one of the telescopes. So I'm going to copy my config file from, I'm going to, wait. So I'm going to copy the config. I'm going to shut down what I have here. And I'm going to copy there was code as added that allows dynamic refresh. So I'm curious if I just copy the file on there, if it'll automatically pick it up. We'll see. You don't have to worry about this if you don't do okay, it copied it. Maybe I have to restart it. Oh, I didn't even do it. Look, it only picked up one of the telescopes, which is not great. It should be able to pick up both of them. I had turned both of them on before I went down to look for the comet. Yeah, so that was the thing. I saw, I didn't see it naked eye. I was able to get a photo of it, but the problem is there were just too many lights. How about you? How was it where you are? Chris makes that. So why isn't this? Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna take this off camera. And why? Oh. Okay. We'll see if this works. Yeah, it claims it's weird. Hold on, I'm just stopping the web interface for some reason. Let me look, make sure it didn't do anything with the config file. Let us see. I have both telescopes. So, okay, that all looks in order. Okay, starting it up. I see it connecting to telescope 1 and 2. And oh, no. Maybe hold on. Oh. Yeah, so if we look at a configuration file, this is a very important thing that I did to myself just now. If you look at kind of a standard config file when you run it locally, it has 127.0.0.1, which basically means you can only point the web browser at your own computer to view it. Now, the Raspberry Pi installer changes that to be something where you can get to it remotely from another computer. You may see where I'm heading with this. I copied this file onto the Raspberry Pi, and now it won't work remotely. So I need to manually fix that file. Again, this is something I just did to myself, and that you wouldn't typically have to deal with this. Okay, we'll get to this. Yeah, okay. Yep, it's still okay. Let's see. Restart. All right. Okay. And we should be, it's thinking more now. And we're back in business. And we have both telescopes. Okay. Running on the Raspberry Pi. I didn't try to find it tonight. Yeah, I mean, you got some pretty decent photos of it yesterday. So I personally don't feel like it was drastically different from yesterday, but then again, I'm in an area that's lousy. So one thing I do want to do is revisit so I did 3 different nights of the Heart Nebula mosaic. I did one on Friday night, Saturday night, and I actually did it also on Sunday night. But because I didn't do a live stream, I kind of distributed it across my 2 Seestars. So even though it was a 5-hour mosaic, it finished in 2.5 hours. I did pull all the fit files, and we'll take a look at them later because I haven't actually looked at them yet. So could be interesting. I kind of curious how it's going. So these are ready to go. So what I need to do is go to Federation and then pick commands. And I have to run the startup sequence on both of them. So now it's running, and we can see, we'll be able to see, I can close the local version. We should be able to see these kind of unparking. Right now they're on, but just kind of, I hadn't done anything with them yet. I set them outside before I went to look for the comet, just to let them kind of temperature equalize. And the bright light down here isn't a neighbor's lights. I think it's the moon. I might be wrong, but I think that's the moon shining on that tree. I'm gonna take a sip. So I'm unparking it. I'm gonna do kind of what I typically have been doing recently. I'm gonna point it at Deneb, do the autofocus, and then do a recording, start stacking on those to try to get it to do a horizontal calibration. Hopefully that'll succeed, and then we can move on. All right, these look good. These look done. Here we've got this, and we can go to Deneb, go, and it should have gone. And so I should start seeing it. I'm going to also open another window here where I can do a live view, because I haven't actually tried this live view on this Raspberry Pi. So we'll see how that goes. Might end up being slow because of my network, but we'll see. So we'll go look live. Yeah, so what else is there? I think there's some other things, but they escape me right now. As you can kind of tell, I'm a little, I think the heat kind of did a number on my thinking. So we'll see. We'll see how long I last tonight. This is, I'm kind of curious if this is actually, it says it's in continuous exposure. It says plate solving is failed. Let's see. Oh, what? Yikes. I think I might have made a mistake when I did this image here. So I'm getting like all these dubious ownership of a repository. Dubious. Okay, so this looks okay. So I'll go ahead and kick off a focus. And I like this screen. This is a modular kind of section, and we can put it on other screens. So I expect we will at some point. Okay, let's see. Is it still focusing? Yeah, it's still focusing. And of course, telescope B is having its usual problems. It's really strange. It's throwing a bunch of errors. Not on this part, but this is complete. So let me go ahead and start recording on this. And it'll start doing the horizontal calibration. I'll switch over to the other telescope, do the same thing, kick off the autofocus, and it is interesting that very consistently telescope 2 dubious error. Yeah, I'm not sure what's causing that. Leave the pi in the command list. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Let me try that. Oh, this one is not even pointing to the right direction. No wonder it's having problems. What in the world? Let's look at this. Let's look at the all sky camera and see what the heck is going on with this one. So this one is having problems. Oh, nice. This one looks like it's pointing at the house. Ah, great. Okay, fine. Let's move it, steer it to the right, which hopefully should get it to stop staring at the house. Is this even updating? Trying to fix this dubious error. Dubious. Hold on. Please bear with me while I fix that issue. Nice name, version.py. Okay. Yeah, it's might have to do something a bit more heavy-handed for me as far as clearing that air. It's what happens when I'm trying to test out something that I had just built and I'm testing it out on stream. Now this is not going to be happy because I restarted everything. Try Vega. I wonder if Vega's okay now these days. Let me see. Should be running again. Why isn't this running? Wait, what? Yeah, that was impressive. That the SpaceX launch. I didn't see it live, but I saw it afterwards. That's really pretty impressive. Very impressive. Did I break it? I might. Oh. I tried to I was trying to fix something and I just screwed it up. What was it? Sorry. Yeah, it looked pretty cool. Another step, but a lot of steps to go. I may end up at the rate this is going, I might end up switching back to using my local computer. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right. All right. That was painful. And it didn't fix my issue. What was it? Git config. I'm just gonna switch back to my my local copy because I'm not gonna try to troubleshoot this. Time's a waste, and I have stuff I want to image. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're back to, let me close this, and I am loading. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that is embarrassing, isn't it? Right. Cosmic Ray. I'm like, hey, look at this, and then I just like foot rake it right in the right at the beginning of the stream. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Just like, all right. Yep. I mean, to be fair, there are plenty of people who are able to run this without drama, but clearly I'm a little challenged today. And this was so theoretically that shouldn't have been a problem. Let me see. Let's see if this one can go to Vega. Actually, let me see where Vega is in the sky. Um, of course, it's behind a building. Of course. What's this? What's this? Maybe I could do this one. Come on. Maybe I'll try. What would be one I could? Maybe I'll try this one. It probably won't work, but let me try this one. Oh, hey, and look at this. It's already starting to. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start picking a different one besides Deneb because it's already starting to interfere with the house. So that one is okay. So we can go to, what is it? Calf, or however you pronounce that. Go. Let's go to live view, and hopefully this one will do something sensible now. Yeah, yeah, I definitely need to get Cockpit installed on it. Definitely. Um, I have I had I actually still have the old Raspberry Pi image that I had run with the old image I had created. I have it sitting around somewhere, but I wanted to set it aside and start with kind of a fresh one. And yeah, well, we'll see. We see how well that worked. Um, okay, so this one is trying to plate solve. So we'll see if this is actually doing anything sensible. Let me look at the all sky camera and make sure it's not like pointing at something silly. Okay. It's actually pointing to a patch of clear sky, so it's actually got a chance. Yeah. I have, yeah, it's very frustrating. I wasn't able to really spend time on it because like over the weekend I was either streaming or busy, or streaming or busy streaming. Busy or busy streaming, yeah. And so, yeah, I didn't get a chance. And it was kind of funny. I put this on Discord earlier that I was clearing off both of the telescopes, and I had like 16,000 fit files between the two of them I hadn't backed up yet. So that's like 160,000 seconds, so almost 2 solid days worth of data I hadn't dumped off yet. But I did it before the live stream today. It just took like over half an hour to copy it all to an SSD. It was just so much. Now, why does it need multiple plate solving? Why is this one having problems? Because sometimes, I mean, and this isn't exclusive to like Seestar Alp, ALP. I mean, I'll have that when I was using the app. I would get in these like plate solving loops where it just wouldn't ever move on, or just kept. It was pointing at the target and just kept trying to plate solve, and it's like. But maybe this is the same issue where it'll just seemingly fail frames, and then when you look at them afterwards, they're fine because it's just for whatever reason not able to detect the stars that are there, or at least not enough of them. Yeah, that doesn't. The fact it's on the sixth plate solve. And are these coordinates even moving? It's very strange. But we might as well move on with this one. I might. Do I want to kick off a Mosaic of the Heart Nebula? Another one. I'm not sure that I do at this hour. Like, it would be one thing if I kind of was running it across both telescopes like I did last night, but I'm not going to do that tonight. So I'll probably skip the Heart Nebula and move on to the next target, which is, okay, what is it? What is the claim it's looking at? And it's pointing at whatever bright star it found, but for some reason it just kept trying to plate solve. So strange. Anyway, so let's get this one on the left going. We did Bernard. You know, let me see where the Wizard Nebula is, because somebody brought that up recently, and I had done a little bit of the Wizard Nebula, but not. I feel like not nearly enough. So I'll kick off the left one on the Wizard Nebula. Just seeing what else there is that I could start tonight or start now. So let's go image, and we'll go. Hello, Wiley site. How's it going? Thanks for joining. I was a little late starting, and I've been kind of a little, I thought I would demo a fresh install on a Raspberry Pi, and it just totally bombed on me. And so I gave up and went back to my computer. It's probably one of those things where it's like something straightforward that I did wrong, but you never know. So I think, do I want to do as high as 150? Maybe I'll do 150. Just got home from comet hunting. How'd that go? I think I'll try, or I'll do 110. I've been doing 110 lately. I won't go too overboard. And then this one, I will go ahead and start imaging. So hopefully it'll actually horizontally calibrate. Okay. I submitted this one, and so this one should also be going. I got a ton of unstackable FITS files. I got some that I'll need to stack. Cool, I guess. Yeah, I ended up just way too much light pollution, so I didn't even get anything of any substance. I just ended up, yeah, I didn't get really much of the comet. Yeah, based on the fact that this is already on the dark library, I'm guessing that totally failed. I wasn't looking, so I'm guessing it just failed on the horizontal calibration, but that's okay. At least it's getting the dark library. Okay, we've got one whole frame here. So once this is done, I'll need to figure out what I'm gonna do with the right telescope. Let's see. We've got choices. I'm not sure I want to do Bernard 369 again tonight. I mean, that's a good target, and I need more data for that, but I think I'm going to try something else. I'm not going to do the heart mosaic because I think given the timing, it would, I don't want to kick off a 5-hour mosaic. I mean, if I had started like right at 8 on the dot or close to it, I could have probably done it. Then it's like 1 a.m. Still kind of late if I'm trying to get up early. Fossil footprint, got the baby nebula. Got that spider and fly, those are much later. 82 files. So it wouldn't stack the files, but you can stack them, perhaps. Shared a screenshot of one on Discord. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, not. Yeah, see. Like this, talking to someone or just talking to voices or something. I don't know. Take your pick. um Actually, I shouldn't say this, but it's like when I'm talking to family members because they end up tuning me out anyway. So I mean, not that you're tuning me out, but that like I get no verbal feedback. So anyway, but yeah, that was sorry, that was I already dismissed that accidentally. That was Wiley Sight's photo of the comet from the Seestar. That looks pretty good. Not see, I didn't bring my Seestar down, mostly because I had set it up for tonight, but I should have. I should have. Although I probably wouldn't have gotten a good result anyway because too much light pollution. Yeah, couldn't get the Seestar to stack any photos. Yeah, that's why I had to use my phone. But yeah, if you use Seestar Alp and have it, I'm guessing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what Wiley Sight did you have it save? I mean, were you able to get fit files? You did get fit files, right? It's just they were all failed fits. Having a fit trying to fail. Having a fit trying to stack. Yeah, you said tons of unstackable. Okay, yeah, I had it save failed frames. Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, not enough stars, but still, like, definitely some data there. A lot of data. This one's doing that thing where it's bouncing back and forth, and I need to fix that. This is imaging. I need to stop that. And then this one, I'm going to move the one on the right. What was I going to do with that one? Do we want to try any suggestions? Do I do the Cocoon Nebula? Is there another target I should try that would actually be visible? Am I always the caveat? Will it be visible? Will it be visible? Actually, I mean, this is kind of a cop-out, but is the moon visible? The moon is actually visible. I could try the moon for lack of a better target. Cave Nebula? Yeah, cave would be, that would be a good one to try. I mean, I've gotten it before, but again, it's one of those things where I definitely could get a lot more data. Yeah. Yeah. How much longer is this going to be visible? Oh, over an hour. So I could do half an hour on that. It's probably going to be massive frame rotation, but be worth it. So image and so I often demo new functionality. I'll do this in a moment, but first retrieve RA deck. Okay, light pollution. I want to increase this to 110. I'll do half an hour. I have a feeling where it is, it's going to start having issues with frame rotation. So this is a new feature where it will. Well, let me demonstrate. Let me go back into this. I could have just hit reload, but I don't have. There's nothing on the screen. I mean, nothing entered. And if I pick, let me see what this ends up doing. If I go retrieve, is this okay? Yeah. So if I, basically when I clicked on retrieve, it picked up a file dialog. It brought up a file dialog. And so now I'm going to pick a fit file. I'm going to pick one of those Heart Nebula fits. Well, no, that's the stacked one. So here is a fits. Whoa, what happened? I love it where I kind of drag it off the screen, but not completely. Okay, so it popped open this. I click on here. This is brand new since last live stream. Retrieve info from previous fit image. So I go like this. I'm going to look at my Heart Nebula. I'm going to just pick one of the frames, just one of the random frames. I'm going to go open. And it actually, the target name is kind of confused, but, and the session time is off. And I think I know why that is, but it actually pulled the right ascension and declination out of the fit file. So this is kind of new, and I think we need to like make some tweaks to it. But the principle is, the concept is, if you have an image of a specific chunk of sky and you want to image that exact chunk of sky again, with the caveat of frame rotation, you put it in here, or you pick the fit file and it'll extract the coordinates and then pre-fill it. We also were talking about possibly being able to look at what's on the Seestar and say, okay, this target from the other day, this panel, I want to re-image that one. And maybe I didn't know the exact coordinates, but I could go in and it will extract the coordinates and then pre-fill it. I think that, I mean, it's like brand new. Kind of, it was a proof of concept, but I feel like that has a lot of potential. Okay. got the Seestar to stack the comet. That's cool. Got a stacked find. Picker rings triangle. Let's go back on this one to live view. Picker rings triangle. Picker rings triangle. Is that a what is that? But yeah, so that's a new feature. But like I say, it's kind of a little it's preliminary, but just to kind of um, an idea of like some of the things we're able to do now with oh Pickering's triangle. Let me look that up. Yeah, Google wasn't happy with what oh the problem is so Pickering's triangle is part of the veil. And the problem is, I think the veil is no longer visible. I think. Oops, why did I do that one? Yeah, it's kind of awkward for me right now. And this boundary might not be correct anyway, and it's almost straight up, unfortunately. Although that's a good suggestion, maybe if I try that again earlier next time. I like writing these things down for subsequent live streams, so they because I don't want to miss it. Let's see. Okay. Whoa. I'm like clicking all kinds of windows over here. Let's go back to live view. All right, so this is NGC 7380, which is the Wizard Nebula. And this on the right is the Cave Nebula. Both of them have the light pollution filter with like 110 gain, so let's see what else. Yeah, so how much longer on this one? It's already been, wow, look at that drop frame rate. I just don't get it sometimes. I'll get like these horrible drop frame rates. And then other times, although I think I did say that this one I was wondering if the field rotation would end up being too much for it. Because I don't think it's windy or anything right now. The transparency isn't great, but I mean, that might be part of the problem. Transparency and seeing are kind of below average. But it is imaging. It's just really bad failure rate. And this one actually has a great failure. So far has a pretty good failure rate. And it just dropped a frame or two, and the dither interval was set to 25, which is, I've seen that before, where as it's dithering, it ends up losing a few frames. But yeah, that's proceeding. So yeah, making progress. One thing I did want to do today, I mean, this isn't going to be like one of the very long live streams. Oh, speaking of long live streams, that one on Saturday, I was thinking it was getting close to being my longest live stream by just, barely. And I thought I was ending the live stream just before, but it ended up being, let's see, my previous longest live stream was 6 hours, 24 minutes, and 46 seconds. And that one was 6 hours, 25 minutes, and 9 seconds. So it was like 20 seconds longer. Now that other one that was long, I don't even know if I had like the intro and outro on that at that point. Yeah, I didn't even have intro and outros on those, so technically that one was longer as far as how much time I was talking. Okay. So, filibuster. Yeah, pretty much. See, I missed my calling. I could have been in politics and done a filibusters. Just got home from looking and shooting a comet long tail. That's great. That's great. What did you shoot with a telescope or camera or both? I attempted, and I did get some photos, but they were just with my phone, mostly because I wasn't sure if it was worth bringing the mirrorless down. Oh, nice. With the Seestar. Great. Great, great. Yeah, I need to, tomorrow I might try it with the Seestar. I ended up leaving my Seestars at home. I brought a mirrorless and a telephoto lens, which would have been fine. Just doesn't have the tracking. I mean, I could have had it on a tracking mount, but I didn't bring one of those. I was just gonna kind of just kind of wing it, but it was there. I was miscalculated on the location I went to, where I was looking over these office buildings, which I knew I was going to, but I didn't take into account how bright some of the spotlights they had on them were. Yeah. Yeah, for me it was by the time I saw it, but the tail looked like it was decent. Yeah, the phone. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like hit or miss. And I know, like Wiley's site, he got a lot of images, but I mean, it refused to stack. He had it save the failed frames, and we'll do something with that. But I mean, that was the one thing I think it's good for the nucleus of the comet, but the comet's tail is so long, it's much longer than the field of view of the Seestar, which is part of the reason why I brought a camera and a lens, mirrorless lens. So, camera and a lens, yeah. And it's the one I use for the solar eclipse. So it's a zoom. It has, on the wide end, it's good. And then I can get enough where the sun is taking. Yeah, I can get. Yeah. Yeah. Stack 7 minutes. The comet was, I'm sure it was moving, because I showed this last live stream. Let me see if I can pull this up again. Where did originally I had put this on Discord. Let's see. It was, let's see, scrolling back, back. This was, yeah, this is really cool. This was before the comet, when the comet was on the other side of the sun. But this is just 30 minutes of an animation over 30 minutes. And if you look at like the background stars, like they're shifting, and you can actually see the kind of this, yeah, this jet or whatever kind of moving as well. Um, but I thought this was really cool because I mean, given that it's just 30 minutes, like that's kind of it's amazing that just that short a period of time. Yeah, that one was yeah, and like I said, that was from when it was on the other side in the morning sky. But I'm sure it's at this point it's probably moving similarly uh, since it's uh, sky. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to see more people do stuff like that because that really was impressive when I saw it. That's why I like saved that the link to that. Actually, I'll drop it in the chat just so you can. Um, and they might have some other images that they've done, but that was just really neat. Yeah, yeah, not able to capture. What scope? They said, what did they say in that? FSQ. They said FSQ 106 3.8. Oh, Takahashi, of course. Of course. Of course they did. We're using a Takahashi. Of course. um and they were shooting it at f3.8, so I'm guessing if it's native f5, they must have been using a how much does it cost? Does it have the price? Am I missing the price? Let's see. Oh, $7,300. And then they're shooting at f3.8, so they must have had some kind of vocal reducer or something on it. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, Takahashi. Yeah, Takahashis are uh yeah, very nice Japanese telescopes, and I've known about them for a long time because there was a place might still be they might still be around in Houston that they were like a Takahashi dealer, and so I at the astronomy club when I was a member like decades ago, I remember them talking about Takahashis, and so but yeah, they're nice telescopes. But yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one page where they didn't have the price was kind of like, that's kind of disconcerting. But yeah, Takahashi. So yeah, of course, the person took it with the Takahashi. I also remember seeing some really good solar eclipse photos, and I was looking at it, and they had shot it with the Takahashi, and I'm like, of course. Uh, but yeah, and that's just the tube. Like if you want to actually have like I don't know which mount they're using, like which mount Takahashi mount this is, but I'm sure it's actually see if they have it here. Oh, hey, you can get one for only $1,000. A smaller one. Clearance. Uh, just curious if they have any mounts. Mounts. Is that the tripod they have? 1100? Yeah, that's not crazy. That's not a crazy price. But yeah, the telescope, it's not inexpensive. Yeah, I don't know Takahashi part numbers, so I was like, FSQ, I don't know what that is. I remember seeing it on the tweet originally, but I hadn't bothered looking it up, and I was like, okay, Takahashi, makes sense. All right, so this is up to 24 minutes. Let's still look at that drop ratio. It's like pretty abysmal, but it's getting some data. This one's not dropping much at all, so go figure. And this is the one that I don't think is even horizontally calibrated yet. Like, I think the horizontal calibration keeps failing, and yet it's still tracking better. Go figure. Or not tracking better, but it's having less failures. Yes, one of the things I was wanting to do while I'm imaging is actually, let me see, before I even do that. I wanted to look at my comet images from today to see if any of them are worth sharing. They probably aren't. Yeah, like, oh, okay. I'm actually surprised that that showed up there. But again, to give you an idea of what I'm up against here, like this is it was like a hiking trail, and I was hoping that the buildings would be a bit more obstructed, but they weren't. But I did manage to get a little bit of the comet over there. I don't know what that is. That must be like an artifact from all the dang lights. And that was a more wide angle lens, and then or wide angle view, and then I ended up, oh, actually, yeah. Yeah. What I ended up doing is, I ended up shooting raw photos on my iPhone, and I'm gonna have to see if I can do anything with these. But you can kind of see, like, you can see a bit of the tail, but yeah, it's very, and I can kind of see it here. But these are all raw images, so I need to see if I can get any. So you can see it's like, I mean, it was moving just because it was setting, I think. I mean, that was only like over a couple minutes, but nothing fantastic. Next time I'm probably gonna, either tomorrow or the next day, I'm gonna drive south of here. Actually, probably towards the direction that Chris Makes That lives, and because I figured that's probably the closest for me, where I have a good view to the west, but without city. Because if I go west, I have to go like probably 40 miles to the west. So what I was going to do is I was going to look at those Heart Nebula photos I had taken the other night. So I had done the one stack. I mean, this is not stretched particularly, but it was missing a couple of panels. So I was going to try to stack. Not sure. Oh man, that one's terrible. I was I was thinking I could just stack the individual frames from my hold on. Yeah. I thought I could just stack the individual panels from the other night, from Saturday. You know, and this was kind of okay. It's a bit noisy, just to get an idea, but but then one of the panels is kind of garbage from the house. So I might go ahead and try to do a rough stack of yesterday's, which I did across the two telescopes, which could be interesting to see how that turned out. Um, they all got over 100 frames, and yeah, it's okay. So I'm going to try to do a rough stack of this, or a rough mosaic of it, I should say, in ASTAP again. I have to call it a night. Clear skies, all clear. Good night, Dark Shades. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your night. So I'm going to start up ASTAP, and I am going to browse files, and let's see, night 3. Great. Okay. Open. All right. So I've got these all loaded. This is last night's session, and so I'll just go ahead and start stacking that. So this will take a while. We'll move that off screen, and yeah. So this is just kind of going along. I think I did 45 minutes. How's the, man, it is still like dropping about 45% of the frames. It's just pretty bad. And this one's still like under 10%, so not too bad. Hello? Hello, hello, Hein. How's it going? Thanks for joining. Oh yeah, the comet. We were just talking about that. It's not visible right now. I mean it's set already, but we did do some. I know, like, yeah, that CPU is gonna go on strike. Is it? Okay, it's not completely pegging it, but it's busy. It's definitely keeping it busy. And I'm not streaming off this computer, mind you, so it's not like this isn't from like an OBS or something. So yeah, not unfortunately, it's all either ALP or the stacking. Actually, let me see. Yeah, ASTAP is, that's interesting. It must not be single, it must not be multi-threaded because it's using 100% of one CPU. So it must not be multi-threaded. Maybe that's why it takes a while to run. Yeah, so yeah, the Comet, I wasn't able to get anything like too outrageously, uh, nothing to write home about, but I'm going to try again tomorrow by going south of the city and to an area with a clear western view and no buildings, because today I went somewhere where there were buildings and it was just too much light pollution. But other people have been getting good results. Seems like, I mean, the Seestar produces some pretty decent results, but just kind of the nucleus area. But if you have like a mirrorless camera, the results are pretty decent. And actually, a lot of the iPhone photos I've seen are pretty, or phone, not just iPhone, but phone photos have been pretty decent. It's just trickier to take longer exposures. What else? Yeah, let's see what the. Yeah, it's always a good sign where I try to. This happened last time where I tried to switch to the window and it's just, it won't even. register. Like it's there, but it's not kind of participating in the system. It's actually up to the fifth, 5 out of 12. It's up to fifth panel out of 12. So this will take a while. But I'm kind of curious how it's going to compare to the one where I only had 10 panels. I'm curious where the gaps are going to be, or what gaps it's going to fill. Because otherwise I might end up having to rethink that mosaic and do a bigger one than, as it is, it's 12 panels. Yeah, 1.5. That's pretty good. So yeah, that points to me I need to get out of the city because, um, being in Bortle 9 isn't. I mean, that's bright for a comet, but Bortle 9 is what's killing me. Um, that's pretty good. I'm also kind of it was interesting. So I walked down to this. It's a called a bayou, but it's like a slow river, small river through the town, through the city, and there's a few of them, but that's one of them. And I kind of it was completely dark, and I went over to this hiking, jogging, biking trail they have along the side of it because it kind of goes down. Oh, almost forgot about my assistant here. Gotta get him or her on frame. Haven't figured out which. So the river kind of goes down. It kind of like the banks are pretty steep and deep. Anyhow, well, as I walked over there, I saw this couple, and they had a tripod and a telephoto lens, and he was triggering timers on it to take longer exposures, and so I ended up asking him. I suspected they were looking for the comet, and he said yeah, and he was getting some photos of it. Um, I only briefly looked at a screen, but and then someone else, because I was talking to them, came up and they had a dog, and they were like asking questions about it, like if we were looking for the comet and stuff. And so yeah, it was kind of interesting. Um, yeah, Rivers being generous. Well, the funny thing about that, it's oh yeah, nice, 15 seconds. But what ISO were you shooting at? You have an. I mean, I think that might vary depending on which, because like yeah, part swamp, part drainage ditch. It's interesting. ISO 100. Okay, yeah. Like sometimes I shoot ISO 3200, but I have I have a newer, like my mirrorless. I think the sensor is like you can push it harder without getting as much grain. Uh, let's see, what was I gonna look up? Bayou. So yeah, in some areas it's kind of concrete lined, and it looks pretty ugly in some areas, but they've kind of been prettying it up a bit, and they have hiking trails along it. But so what do you call it? It's so the see, like this might be near where the hiking trail is. The water is normally like 30, 40 feet lower than that, and it's really narrow. Like not even this, it's like narrower than that. And it basically, when we have one of our major rain events, the water goes up to the top, sometimes goes out of the banks. So it varies between you know, being a few dozen feet wide to hundreds of feet wide or a fraction of a mile wide and turning into this huge, into a river. I I did not, but I saw I mean I didn't see the whole thing. I saw bits of it. Yeah, f4, 15 seconds, 50 millimeter. That's pretty good. I mean that's a good what do you call it? Where you're not going to have a lot of aberrations and like optical problems and noise on your sensor and stuff. So that's a pretty good uh, combination. Let's see. Okay, so the cave has completed. So what do we want to try to do next? I do wonder if that Pickering's triangle is actually, it's probably not. Yeah, no. That would be probably not going to work. So any suggestions? I like getting more data on things that I've imaged previous nights, but I also like trying new targets to oh, Ghost of Cassiopeia. Thank you. I forget. Which one was that one? I actually have. Let's see, what are the numbers for that one? Because whatever reason, it's not, it is IC59 is one of them. IC59, 59. Hey, that's perfect, perfect. And even better, I imaged it once before recently, and I saved a schedule because it's two different IC objects and I ended up picking a point between them. So I have, let me see. So I can go back and image the same thing or same point. Ghost in the machine. The ghost in Cassiopeia. Okay, import schedule. Okay, start it. And that looks to be in a good position in the sky, not too high. And let's see, is that time right? Because that's the other thing I get into trouble with, where I'll have stopped time in Stellarium and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And then I'm like, oh, oops, it's actually terrible. So let's go live and see if it's trying to find it. So it's trying to find it. So we'll let that go. Hopefully it will find it. That's cool. I did image it once before, like I say, fairly recently, and then I saved this out because I wanted to image it again. And I think I'll just have to get more data on it. Yeah, the booster catch. Yeah, it's I mean, it is interesting. It is interesting. So, yeah, it's another milestone for the project, for the Starship project. Yes, Europa Clipper did launch, and I actually saw this video. Let me find it. This is encouraging. It looks like it's still plate solving. So, yes, the Europa Clipper launched. Oh, and what's interesting, so I think we were talking about this. It was Europa Clipper will get to Jupiter in 2030, but originally they were going to launch it on SLS, but because of the delays from SLS, they switched to Falcon. And if they would have launched on SLS, since that's a much bigger rocket, it would have gotten there in, I think they said 3 years. So it would have gotten there in 2027. The main problem was it was actually probably for the best. I mean, bad from having to wait, but probably for the best because it was $1 billion cheaper apparently to use Falcon. Because something like that. I read something along those lines. I'm like, it's 3.5 years longer, $1 billion less. Okay, fine. I'm not gonna. And especially if they can take that billion and apply it towards a different science mission, that would be yeah, yeah, yeah. Because Falcon Heavy. Yeah, I mean, because it was. I mean, they're launching it to Jupiter. It takes a bit more a bit more punch to do that. What was it? Let me look for that video. It was interesting because they were talking about. Yeah, funny enough, like I switched to my personal YouTube homepage, and the one on the first row is this live stream. It's like random Erewhon is live. And hey, I could see myself when I mouse over it. That's funny. I think I'm gonna see if I shared this, then we'd end up with like Inception, where it's like streaming inside streaming. Anyway, let us. Okay, history. Sorry, I'm getting distracted and then on the second row was a video of the Starship test. Where was it? I have a weirdest mixture of videos. Very weird. And I haven't watched all this video, but it was kind of interesting. It was I'll post a link to it, but it was basically about kind of clickbaity, but it was interesting, talking about the mission and the orbit they're using for it, because the otherwise it would be really difficult. Like the electronics would get fried by the radiation, because Europa's, I guess, within kind of the radiation belts of Jupiter, and so it would be too much. Man, like this is what's funny is, like, the other day I had paused a video and I went back to look at the video, and YouTube rolled an ad, and I'm like, okay, fine. And then it rolled and then I like skipped it, and it started playing the video, and then it rolled another ad, and I'm like, okay. And I like it played for a bit, and then I was able to skip it. And then like 5 seconds later, it played another ad. I'm like, this is not the ideal experience. Maybe it was because I paused it. It kind of confused it. So this is where, oh, that's that bright star. That's right, in the Ghost of Cassiopeia. So then we've got to figure out something for this one. Yeah, it's going to take a while. Gonna be an old man by then. Yeah, or yeah. Yeah. This video, it didn't go into all of it, but it at least kind of, it was an interesting video. The one I put in the chat, because it talked about also like it talked about Galileo, the Galileo mission, and how some, I won't spoil it, but like when it flew by Europa and some things that it detected and stuff. I mean, like I say, not clickbaity or anything. It's all very interesting stuff. But yeah, I definitely recommend that video, at least looking over it a bit, because it was kind of, it gave some interesting background. But I am kind of excited about that one, just because I've been yeah, Europa is intriguing, and like I don't know what they'll be able to detect, but if they end up detecting like organic compounds, you know, that could be interesting. And I think it has like some radar, like ground penetrating radar kind of stuff to get under the ice, something like that. But anyway, I haven't actually finished the video. I got through like 80% of it. Yeah. You know, you may have put us all in danger by saying that in the chat, you know? You know, Chris makes that, you know? The truth is out there, man. um we're all going to be visited by men in black. The video is going to just disappear. This video never happened. Anyway, let's see. All right. So we are imaging the ghost of Cassiopeia, which is cool, because that was definitely one I wanted to go back on. And I don't even know how long I had imaged it previously, but it's actually very well situated to image it tonight. One other thing that I'm kind of, actually, come on. Is there anything down here? No. I was hoping there would be some stuff down here. Did the silver sliver. I did that. I actually, in that huge amount of data I gathered, you know, maybe that's what I'm going to do. Let's look at the weather here. Like supposedly the weather's going to be great. Starting Wednesday here, as far as, and when I say great, I mean not hot, not like it got up to 95 degrees here, which, I mean, for mid-October, that's pretty hot. Luckily it wasn't as humid as it normally is, but I think, was it this morning? Yeah, this morning, like it was humid enough, like the windows were all kind of fogged over from the condensation, which is just terrible. Like when I see that, I'm just like, oh, especially it happens when it's cold, but it also happens when it's hot. And when it happens when it's hot, I'm just like I'm not going outside right now. Anyway, it's going to be nice, but at least Astrospheric was saying like not really great observing weather on Friday. But maybe I haven't done this in a while. Maybe I should do like a photo processing live stream. I mean, maybe play around with some software I haven't used before, but also it serves a dual purpose. It's hopefully educational, but it also helps me get through my backlog. Because one of the things I had imaged actually a bunch of the silver sliver. See, the problem is some of this actually wouldn't be great for a live stream, because really what I want to do with all that silver sliver data is run it through a drizzle, and that's just going to take forever and consume vast quantities of disk space. So I'll have to think of something else. I need to just wrap up. I need to get that remote observing stuff working. Um, oh right, a group target. Yeah. Now or on Friday. Um, let's see. Fossil footprint I could get. Any suggestions on targets right now that I could put this other telescope to use? Got the baby nebula. I could revisit that. I'm not doing the fish head because I'm doing that mosaic. I mean, not tonight. I'm not doing the mosaic tonight, but I'm generally working on a mosaic. On that. Just kind of curious what some of these are. SH2171. SH2171. Okay, that's visible. Oh, question mark. Yeah, maybe just do the center. I'm not going to do the full mosaic of it, but let's look. Whoa. Oh, I'm so this is the field of view. I was trying to figure out field of view for my my mirrorless camera and the one of the lenses I was using when I was planning for the comet tonight. And these are just random sensors that I don't own. But yeah, okay, question mark. Teddy Bear Nebula section. These names. Let's look. Let me look this up. Teddy. Teddy Bear. Bear. Okay. I might have to look that up somewhere else. Okay, so okay, let's look that up. Let's look that up. Teddy Bear Nebula. That's not quite what I wait, SH, but it's so the whole thing is question mark, but where's the teddy bear section? Like, where is this in it? The center part? So maybe this where it's pointing? Maybe? You are not. I'm on it? Is this the section I want to image? I mean, it looks like an interesting section with the dark and the different bits and bobs. Let's try that. Sorry, I'm forgetting I'm where I am here. Okay, so this is still going. Great. We'll go image, and I will just grab the coordinates, question mark. I will do 45 minutes, 110, light pollution, go. And then live view. And hopefully it's, okay, great. Great. Oh, that sucks. The MOSFETs were not up to the hardness standards? Great. Let's hope not. Because that would be unfortunate. I mean, the one thing in that one video, it said, yeah, and the disadvantage, see, at least, like, you know, with some of the SpaceX stuff, at least we had the satisfaction of watching it explode, and you know, whereas with this, it just is like, oh, we can't reach the thing anymore, and it's at Jupiter. It's like, well, that's not impressive. That's not impressive at all. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's just very like if they're gonna have it fail, like they need to have it fail where we can. It's more tangible of a fail. Can't have this kind of abstract, oh, the radio receiver isn't working anymore because the thing like is tumbling through space or something. It's just that's not as interesting. It's just kind of like, bummer. Not like, wow, did you see the hole that thing left in the ground when it blew up? See, that's impressive. That's why, like with a test of the space the Starship test, it succeeded. Very impressive. If it would have failed, probably also would have been very impressive, just in a very different way. Um, that's why I watch. And actually, in a lot of cases, that's why I don't watch. I think I've seen too many. Yeah, see, that's the only problem is the like if the thing fails before they have a chance to properly deorbit it, um, then that could be a problem. Like one of I, the thing I read, it said they hadn't decided what they were going to do to it at end of mission, but one thing they had been considering is crashing it into Ganymede after it's over. As it's getting towards end of life, so it won't just kind of be uncontrolled and then eventually possibly crash into Europa. And um, just like what was it, Galileo? They deorbited into Jupiter. Um, yeah, and they did that with Cassini too, right? Around Saturn, where yeah, where they deorbited into Saturn. So this is imaging, but is this actually the stack? Unclear. Is it updating? Yeah, it's updating. Huh. Man, this is getting massively modeled here. I think it's the good thing is the software usually does a better job of cleaning things up than than the Seestar stacking. I mean, like if I use Cyril, it cleans it up better. But man, these artifacts here, kind of, I don't know if you see them like these colored kind of wavy or kind of bands. That would be yeah. Wonder how much that'll clean up. Yeah, I guess I'm starting to see some of the nebulosity. I shouldn't drink root beer during a live stream because it's like, yeah, too much carbonation. But yeah, this yeah, actually I think I still have it up on the screen. Maybe I closed it. See, I've intentionally not closed some of these tabs because it's just like such a random. It's like a random walk of topics here. Space War, Baby Nebula, PDP 11. Ohio Scientific, Commodore 64, O'Neill Cylinder, NASA asteroid, colonization of Venus. Um, what was I? Oh, Europa Clipper. Europa. Let me do this on the right window. Europa Clipper. And I need to check on the status of my Clipter. Don't know how to type. Yeah. Yeah, root beer is, I like root beer. It's, I had, I drank, I didn't get to drink much of it when I was younger, but I always enjoyed it. And, and so, yeah, more recent years, we've started getting it on a regular basis. Let's see if ASTAP, okay, ASTAP did finish. So I was kind of curious how this was going to turn out. So it did fill in. Now, granted, this was the one across 2 telescopes. So it is interesting. Like you can still see kind of the overall gradient. And let's see. If we look at the stack from the other night, that's unfortunately that's kind of, I wonder if I pull it into Graxpert if it'll show better. Show better. Graxpert. Let's see. It's loading. And actually, maybe I'll load both of them into Graxpert. Load image. And my astrophotos directory. And Heart Nebula and Night 1. And open. Okay, let's see if we crank up. Crank up? No, crank up. That doesn't. I'm trying to make it more. I cranked it up to the maximum stretch, and that's kind of it's like too much artifacts here, but. And the problem is like this is rotated differently. So maybe this is. I'll just close this out. Is there a way to get a green around the edges? Are you talking about like the noise along the edges or this green? Like this green, I would probably actually I just quit. Let me bring back Graxpert. Really what I should have done is done gradient removal on each panel. I didn't intentionally do that. I intentionally didn't do it because I just, for expediency's sake, I just wanted to kind of check the image. But let me see, load night 3, open. And okay, so that's interesting. So it definitely shows more of the green in, I mean, because like all these programs have their own way of displaying it. But like ASTAP, obviously, it's showing more of a green cast here. But if I wonder if I do background extraction, I probably should crop this, but I'm just going to do background extraction. Yeah, that green. Let me see what this does. Whoa! That nope. Nope. Definitely nope on that one. Let's try over. Let's do a do-over on that one. I think it really wants to be cropped here. And unfortunately, I ran into this recently because I am doing Alt Azimuth. Like it's all rotated. And that's why I need to do the panels individually. Because otherwise, yeah. Now I don't know if this will actually do anything useful because since there are like seams here, it's probably not going to be great. But otherwise, I would load individual panels in. Like if I load an individual panel from let me pick one that maybe looks a little bit better. Like, yeah, let's try this one. So this one has a gradient. So maybe I'll crop it just a little bit to get some of the noise from the edge out. And crop, and then background extraction. I often end up going like 100%. And you can, like, what does that look like? Original. So it did remove it. Now, mind you, I don't have nearly enough data in here, which is why it's like noisy as heck. But the idea is, yeah, you apply with a program like GrogSpert or Serial, you do the background extraction, and it removes that gradient, kind of evens it out. Like I say, this isn't the best example because it's like so noisy, but that's the idea. But yeah. Anyway, the problem was I was focusing on the color, but really what I need to focus on is how this looks in comparison. So this one definitely has a lot, like, no, like this one had like a big gap here, whereas this seems a bit less. The gaps are less filled in. But then again, it was doing it in half the time because I did it across 2 telescopes, so the field rotation would have been less over the course of the whole mosaic. So I don't know. But yeah, I definitely need to get a lot more data on this. I mean, this, like I say, this is purely raw kind of data, and it's like, but it's a start. And I figure, I mean, based on the first night's data, I figured I was going to have to do a few hours per panel, and each night I'm getting half an hour per panel. Well, not even half an hour. I'm spending 25 minutes per panel, but it's only getting, you know, like a bit over 15 minutes per panel, maybe up to 20 minutes. In some cases that, I mean, some of it, like there can be a green for just the sensor, but well, because of the RGG, isn't that it? Anyway, a lot of it, the gradient is because of the, like in this case, the moon is up and the light pollution, and so like there's a gradient along of light, and I guess when it gets, the way the exposures work, it ends up color shifted across the gradient instead of it just going from like dark to light. It ends up, maybe because, but then the software will normalize that out, so kind of averages it out. But a lot of it's like light pollution, because like the thing, like in the case of the Heart Nebula, it covers some altitude in the sky, but even then, like even things that are relatively small in the Seestar frame, I mean that only cover a single Seestar frame, you'll get a gradient on it, and sometimes it's more color cast than other times. Those are particularly color cast, although some of that might be emphasized by however ASTAP is processing it, because when I pulled it into GrogSpert, the green wasn't as prominent because like the underlying data is the underlying data is unstretched, and so as part of their normalization, and you have the RGB channels, it does things. But yeah, GrogSpert is great. I haven't actually, cosmic clarity, I saw mention of that. Is that something for PixInsight, or is it something that's also standalone? Yeah, it's standalone too. Oh, and macOS. What do you know? Always appreciated. Something to check out. Um, Immaculate Constellation. I'm a little concerned to Google that on the stream. um, just because I'm like, oh, secret UFO. See, you're doing it again, man. You're putting us all in like, we're all going to be memory wiped or something. I don't know. I already had to talk to an FBI agent once in my life. I don't want to. And the guy looked like Tommy Lee Jones from in Men in Black. Yeah. So yeah, no, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's either I'm joking or maybe I won't even remember. You know, I'll just have a memory gap of involving a few hours that I'll never be able to account for. Yeah, it was. But I swear, like the guy looked like him. That was the freaky thing about it. It's just one of those things. Like, yeah. Anyway, that was a story for another day, I think. But or I only remember parts of it. What he wanted me to remember, not the rest of it. So, who knows? Maybe he was actually asking me about something I had seen earlier in the day and he wanted to, before he memory wiped me, I guess. Anyway. Neuralizer or whatever that was. Question mark. And look at this. This makes no sense. This telescope just a bit ago was getting like 45% reject rate on the previous target. Now it's gone 92 frames and 0 drops. Makes no sense. And then like this one is like so noisy, but yet it's doing great too. Yeah. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. This isn't the first time we've this not that specific thing, but like I was talking about that border blimp I'd seen that I thought was a UFO and the Marfa lights. So it's we're kind of going off on a bit of a tangent. Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this is so noisy, but hopefully that'll clean up. This one's starting to show stuff, and if I recall correctly, like the Ghost of Cassiopeia has like that kind of structure there. No. Problem is sometimes some of these photos end up like way too zoomed in or different angle. But yeah, this is I think generally what we've got here where yeah, like this structure here I think is this part of it. Cool. Yeah. Even better, I look away and I look back and I see message retracted. That's not at all suspicious. Um Yeah, it's interesting. Um, yeah, yeah, it is interesting, especially if you ever go out to some of those areas out west, out in New Mexico and stuff, and then yeah. Hey, I'm just practicing for, I don't know, whatever, something. Oh, okay, you misspelled something. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, either I'm talking to someone in a coma for 6 hours or I'm what do you call it? Just talking to, yeah, someone that isn't there. Uh yeah, so this is going 21 minutes and this one is 34 minutes. No, didn't I do? I think I did 40 or 45 minutes for this one. So actually, I did it from a saved schedule. So I need to see what that schedule was set for. It was set for an hour. Eesh. I don't think I'll let it go for the full hour. Actually, I might not be able to let it even go for the full hour. Um, I see 59. No, I guess no. I thought maybe it was something. Oh, but it's getting high in the sky. No, it's not that high. Never mind. 60 degrees. That's not that high. Oh, that's awesome. Recently took my S50 to the top of a volcanic crater in Maui. That's awesome. Is it Haleaka or something? Oh wow, that's fun. That's interesting. That just shows how many there are out there. Like, but yeah, Haleaka. Yeah, I've never actually I never went to Haleaka, but I know someone who has been there multiple times, which is why I suspected because you said Maui and 10,000 feet, and I'm like, is that Haleaka? But I've never been. I've been to um, the Big Island um, many years ago. I actually went up to the visitor center at the observatory. Um, that was pretty neat. It was. I think I've mentioned this before. It was really interesting because like I had gone up there for like a uh, kind of a star party kind of thing, and I had a rental Jeep, and I was driving up the road to the summit, well, to the visitor center, and which is like 9,000 or 10,000, 9,000 feet, something like that. Anyway, and I was kind of bummed because it was like so cloudy. I mean, they weren't like thunderstorms, but it was definitely solid clouds. And it was I know it's common there, but experiencing it was interesting where I'm just kind of driving along, bouncing on this road, and then suddenly like the clouds start getting like wispy, and then I'm through the cloud deck and above it, and then finally continued on to the visitor center. And that whole night it was that effect you see in photos where it's like a sea of clouds, and I'm sure Haleaka has that. um but yeah. And I think it's like is it an is it a inversion layer or something? I don't know what it's called. But yeah, like this effect. It's like it's the weirdest thing. It's like there's a sea of clouds off into the distance. Like like all you see is clouds, and it's like an ocean of clouds, but it's completely clear. It was completely clear above, which was it was the weirdest thing. But it was nice because like it was clear the whole night. It's just it was just kind of a little concerning when I was down lower and I was like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do anything here. Uh, but and the funny thing was, I wasn't prepared clothing wise. I think I only had a hoodie, and I luckily they had hot chocolate and coffee in the visitor center because I was like so cold. Because you go to Hawaii, you don't necessarily think um, you're going to be that cold, but elevation. So yeah, showing the volcano. Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool, cool. Are you in Hawaii right now? Or are you it's just going to be another trip? Yeah, inversion layer. Yeah. Yeah. I imagine I was thinking cuz it's probably the same. I mean, it's the same setup where it's in a nearby island and same inversion layer and same altitude. Oh, okay. Another trip. Cool. That's really awesome though. Um that's really cool. Yeah, I would I haven't been there in such a long time. I would love to go back there and yeah, do some observing from up there again. Like I say, I wasn't quite prepared when I went there and it was definitely very cold. The funny thing is when I went there, I'd never really thought about it, but they said you shouldn't go scuba diving or maybe deeper snorkeling and then go up to Mauna Kea or Mauna Loa in the same day because you could get the bends or something. I'm like, imagine like going to Hawaii and you get the bends. It's like, what? How did you get the bends in Hawaii? It's like, it's, it's possible. That would be that would be very unexpected. And then also like, yeah, it can snow at the summit, so uh, yeah, bring your snow trunks and your ice axe. It's like, where are you going? It's like Hawaii, of course. Um, but yeah, that was cool. Um, yeah, so if anybody hasn't if you're new to the stream, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. It does help the stream and helps just helps the channel in general and definitely appreciate it if you do that. Um, sometimes we have people on the stream who remind me or they mention it in the chat and then I'm like, oh right, I need to mention that. Do the obligatory call out. But so yeah, so this is we're doing question mark 28 minutes so far. Did I do a full half hour on this? This one I'm not sure how. So long as this keeps going, maybe. I mean, like, look, this has a really good drop rate. I'm very surprised. I mean, it looks crazy noisy, but I do think I'll be able to clean that up. I'll be able to clean up a lot of it. And the software, I mean, just in general, there's like a lot of noise on this. It's probably because of the huge contrast difference between this star and then everything else. And it is the ghost of Cassiopeia, so it's kind of not, as one would expect, maybe not the highest surface brightness target. Yeah, the question mark. And then after this, what do we want to image? Because this one I'm going to just let run, but then this one will free up. So what do we want to image on that? Yeah, 24 hours no scuba. Yeah, it's the funniest thing until I went there and I read the warning. I'm just like, that is so random. Like, but I guess a lot of places where one can scuba, you're not necessarily also able to easily drive to 2 miles above sea level in the same day, or even within the same in the afternoon. Yeah, Pikes Peak is yeah. I think they've had snow in July on Mauna Kea, which would be very strange. Like the stream before it starts. Are you talking about the sound the kind of the intro? Okay, failed astronomer. Thanks for joining. By the way, I you may have been on the stream for a while, but I just I when I see new names, and same with Sahil, I hadn't seen you, so thanks. Welcome to the stream. If even if you've been on for a while or previously. Oh, how am I viewing the Seestar? So yes. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using open source software that this let me go to it. It's this thing. Um, it's an open source project. It needs what do you call it? Uh, sorry, my laptop blocks my monitor. Anyway, it's open source software that kind of has it's able to control the Seestar as well, and it has live view, and it has some more advanced features that like basically the Seestar itself has an API, and that's what the app uses, and this software implements that and is able to control the Seestar, but it's things have been layered on top of it that the Seestar historically didn't offer. Now, more recently, they added mosaics, but this has had mosaics for months. It also, you can create a schedule where you can go in here and the formatting's kind of different because I have two Seestars and they're both running. But like if you look at this, you have a schedule, and I only have a single item here, but you can have multiple items, you can do multiple actions, you can wait until a certain time. So like if you know something doesn't rise until 1 in the morning, you can say wait until 1 a.m. and then say start imaging this one target. You can either do an image or a mosaic, and then you can have it shut down at the end of the night. So um, it kind of gives you some flexibility. You can import and save schedules. So like this Ghost of Cassiopeia, I had done that at some point recently-ish, like a week or so ago, and it's two different IC objects. And so if you look up either one, it it isn't centered the way you want it. So you kind of want to compose it differently. So I figured out the composition and then I saved it so that way I can rerun it on another night. Stuff like that. So it also has this planning page that's very new that lets you kind of, you know, plan out your mosaic. So if you wanted to do M31 and then do like a 3x3 mosaic, it'll it'll show you what your coverage is, so you know you have enough panels to be able to do a mosaic, stuff like that. So this is running all on my computer, which is a Mac, and it also runs on Windows and Raspberry Pi, even though I had a failure today. So, but a lot of other people run it on Raspberry Pi. So, yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's kind of yeah, it's pretty and then it like has a server error. That's just typical. I mean, the problem is like I have some local development code here, and I'm running two telescopes. So as I always say, a lot of times some of the glitches are like me problems. Um, wow, what happened here? That's hilarious. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I guess the target's over, so it's done imaging. So I can go on to some other target here. And that, I think that's like I was making some changes to that code, so I think I caused it to fail. Um, oh yeah, before the intro, it's just a chat here. And sorry, I'm behind on the chat. Failed astronomer. Glad. Thanks for joining. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and there's, like I say, I think. Oh, okay. No, I also sometimes I have extra problems because of my home network. The live stream is not kind of separate, and so sometimes it'll end up failing for unclear reasons because like my laptop will just randomly switch networks. Um, it's a thing in Python. Yeah, sometimes. Um, yeah, yeah, and like we take there's definitely a lot of or there's a few people working on it, and a number of others who have contributed. So if you want to check it out, and feel free to contribute to it. Um, and why two sea stars? It's just because I have two. It was actually kind of funny. It wasn't intentional. I pre-ordered them when like last summer or so, and I pre-ordered one, and then I was like, oh, let me pre-order it on. I pre-ordered it from an astronomy shop, and actually I ended up pre-ordering three of them. I pre-ordered one from an from two different astronomy shops. Like one of them was Agena Astro, and then some other one. Because I had wanted to get one before the October annular eclipse. Um, and then I saw that ZWO was selling them direct and shipping them direct. So I'm like, okay, I'll pre-order it from that one. And it turned out like two of them ended up shipping like around the same time. Like one had shipped, and I knew I was expecting it, but then the other one of the other ones, like I just got an email that like one of them they gave me warning that they were about to ship it. The second one they didn't give me warning. They said, okay, it's shipped. And I'm like, oh. And so then I canceled the third one, but I ended up with two, and I was like, I'll keep both. Um, and so I have two. That's how it happened. Yeah, no, not quite. Although what's interesting is this is a relatively new feature, um, with the this there is something there's something I think it's for it to be this slow, considering this is running on my computer, I think my network's having issues. Yeah, so in this case, so I have a schedule here, and you go in and you set up if if you want to create a schedule. Actually, there's a new th- so you could enter like, okay, I'm going to do this target, and it's 3 panels by 3 panels. Fine. Well, there's this thing called Federation that was added recently where you can enter the target, and it's the exact same as the other one, except it has this checkbox, split mosaic across multiple sea stars, which doesn't help people who only have one sea star. Um, but like the person who started the project, he has three, and so yeah, you check that, and it will. If you're doing a mosaic, like I'm doing this mosaic of the Heart Nebula, and it's a 12 panel mosaic, and I'm doing like 5 hours a night, and I've been doing it on one telescope, but last night I did it I set it up and I had it split across both of the telescopes. So it's like, you know, alternate panels are run on different telescopes. And so it got through it in half the time, which was nice. Um, so it didn't used to work that way, but what I would do is I would just do things on, you know, I'd look at one target on one, look on a different target on the other. Um, but it actually does. You can actually split stuff across telescopes now, which is cool. But nothing like interferometry or anything. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, there is yeah, there is it is interesting how many people have uh cuz like when I ran across it across this project uh well, yeah, sorry, taking a step back. I think even fairly early on I saw some people like trying to root it, you know? Um, Now a lot of that kind of got closed up, and anyway, there's definitely some people who are doing that kind of stuff. But then, as far as being able to like reverse engineer the kind of the protocol or re-implement the protocol that the app uses to talk to the Seestar, yeah, it's like there was some initial work, and then a lot of people have been building on it and building, you know, a lot of kind of interesting functionality. Um, but it is pretty cool. And there's always people jumping in who like sometimes it's people who have you know, they want to contribute a new screen, but in other cases it's just, you know, they want to contribute um like a single little feature or just fix something. And it's like a lot of open source projects, it ends up kind of it's kind of neat. And the main problem, well, not the main problem, but it's not a downside, but like the project's moving so fast. So yeah, um, yeah, um, it's but yeah, it's the problem is like documentation and videos and stuff are not they get stale quickly sometimes because the project is moving so quickly. But on the other hand, we're, you know, there's a lot of new features and just some pretty neat functionality, and just some of the ideas people have talked about is it's really pretty cool. Um, so let's see. So this is going to go on for a while, and let's see. Now this one I think is done or almost done. So I'm going to stop this one. And or let me see if I can actually look at it, because of course I think my based on the messages I was getting in the log files, I think my network is I've I had recently redone my wireless network, and yeah, it's timing out. That's why it ended up having an exception, and I don't know why it's timing out. I hope that I've had some problems recently where that's specific access point I have that the telescopes are on ends up uh, having a problem. And a few times it's happened just before a live stream, but hopefully that's not what's going on here. Let's see. Okay, I'm just checking my network to see if it's everything's okay. One thing I could try doing. That's annoying. Okay. Okay. This one finished. Wait. I thought this one was for a full hour. But it's finished. This one finished. And actually what I might end up doing is just kind of, yeah, that's done. Let's see. What does it think of this one? Oops. I'm just wondering what happened with this one. Like, there are a few times where I'll have like technical snafus where like yeah, had some problem with the telescope itself. Let me hold on a second. Again, some of this might be a me problem, because this isn't exactly what is in the repo. So we need to find a new target for both of them, actually. Yeah, both of them are kind of idle. So let's figure out what we want to look at. Let's see. Could try the fossil footprint, get more time on that, but if any suggestions? Again, part of my problem is I just have a lousy sky. So what is this sailboat cluster? What is this? That looks interesting. Oh, broken heart cluster? That looks interesting. I might just do that one, just on one of them. NGC 225. So I go to pick, oops, I go to image, and I'm just going to get the coordinates from Stellarium, and I will do, how long do I want to do this for? I'll try 20 minutes. Now, do I want to do, there's like this nebula here. Do I want to try to do a light pollution filter on it, or I just, because it's a cluster, you deserve a coffee. I've already had a bunch of coffee. And mind you, I didn't write. I've written chunks of this project, but I'm just I'm a contributor to it. At the end of the day, I started using it a few months ago, and I've added some major functionality, but so have a lot of other people. So, and some of it was somewhat, I don't want to say completely self-serving, like the project, there were things I added to the project that I wanted so I could use it on my live stream. Because before I was using the iPhone app, and I had it. Do I have it still here? I actually had it plugged into an HDMI cable here, my iPhone, so I could screen share the app off my iPhone, and that was fine. It's just this is more flexible and more featureful. It's missing some features still, like you can switch it into lunar mode, but you can't, it doesn't automatically go to the moon, for example. Like you can control it, that like there's like, this is the controls, you can kind of like a joystick, you can control it to get to the moon, to point at the moon, but we don't have an auto moon mode. It's relatively trivial. It's just like, for me personally, I'm mostly doing star mode, um, uh, star observation. So, but it also has a lot of functionality that you wouldn't necessarily get in the app, like being able to ahead of time say how long you want to expose an image for, or how much time you want to spend on a target, doing certain kinds of mosaics, being able to stack multiple things in one night. It's oh, 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 well, thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I do. I thanks. I don't historically. I have like all the kind of support mechanisms, or you know, I have buy me a coffee, I have Patreon, I have YouTube channel membership, but I need to be better about like promoting it. I put it in the description so people can find it, but thank you, I do appreciate that a lot. Um, and yeah, thanks so much. So there's this one's going, the sailboat cluster, but now I need to find something for this one. This one is idle. Um, and I do appreciate that. I will be having coffee. um, yeah. Uh, let us see. Any suggestions for the other target? Again, the biggest problem is just my skies are terrible in my backyard. Yeah, so for people who are new, I live in Houston, Texas, and I have a Bortle. I'm like in the city, so I have Bortle 9 skies, like bad Bortle 9 skies. So, and I'm surrounded by buildings, so my skies are like just totally like looking straight up. You can see like the full circle of the sky. I can only see a fraction of it from my backyard. Um, but what is it, the playing the hand you're dealt? So which is why a lot of times, well, partly it's because it's on the live stream. I'll kind of go from target to target, but it's also because I can't spend too much time on a single target. Um, or I often can't spend too much time on a single target. Um, what do we want to try here? Let's see if there's anything down here that's, oh, California Nebula. There was that galaxy that I was trying to image in there. Like there's in the California, like I was just looking at the California Nebula and then I ended up looking it up. There's this IC 2005. It just looks like kind of a little star, but it's actually a galaxy that's 200 million light years beyond the California Nebula. So I was like imaging that recently, and the California Nebula is actually high enough now, and I can use the light pollution filter with it, which is important because the moon and everything else. But let's see if I want to do that one first or something else. If anybody has other suggestions, I might end up doing that one again. What's this one? Okay. I keep hoping it's something else, but let me double check I've got the right time. I am, yeah, just making sure I've got the right time. And let's see. The spider and fly. I probably won't get to the spider and fly tonight. And actually, I don't know. Usually when I do these live streams during the week, I try not to run past midnight local time, which is still an hour out, but usually around this time I start thinking about what remaining targets I'll get to. Actually, oh no, the moon's over there. I'm not going to look over even. I'm not even going to bother looking at the other side of the sky. I'm kind of intrigued about doing this, but let's see what else there might be from my list. Yeah, I think IC 2005 might be. Although, where was the fossil footprint? Although that was a kind of a dim one. Yeah, that's actually about the same height, 35 degrees above the horizon. That's probably okay. Yeah, I'm not finding. Sometimes I'll just kind of scroll around in Stellarium, seeing if there's something that kind of catches my eye. I got the heart. I've gotten the baby nebula recently. Let's see, what else? I think I will do the California nebula, or well, the galaxy that's behind the California nebula, just because find that kind of interesting. Nope. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that. But instead of the California nebula, I do IC 2005. So I will do that on this one, image, and I'll just grab the coordinates from the from Stellarium. Do I want to crank up the gain? Maybe I'll do 140 gain. I flipped it, 140 gain, and then do, maybe I'll do 30 minutes on this. And I'm going to use the light pollution filter to try to get more of the California nebula. And yeah, so oops, I always do this. Go back to live view, and it's going to be trying to acquire it. But yeah, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please, I don't like saying smash the like, because like that would probably break your mouse or your keyboard if you smashed the like. But clicking it deliberately would be appreciated, or even accidentally. I would take that. Either way. Yeah. But while I'm waiting, while it's loading, it is, yeah, it found the target, and but it hasn't gotten any frames. So should be showing up shortly. And this one's doing pretty well. No drop frames on this so far. But it is, I mean, that goes with the whole thing about sometimes the drops are because it can't match enough stars, and there's plenty of stars to match there. So maybe, sometimes it's because of play or wind, play in the mount or in the mechanism or wind, but in this case it seems to be just stars in the field. Okay. Yeah, so somewhere in the center will be it. I mean, that it's one of those things, like I've got kind of it's kind of like I wouldn't quite go so far as to say it's an obsession, but I'm kind of fascinated about not just like the targets that that are interesting to look at, like these different nebulas, but I like sometimes finding targets where within the frame you end up seeing something that's like much more distant. Like in this case, that it only shows up as a 15th magnitude star or 15.7th magnitude star, but it's actually 270 million light years beyond the California nebula. I don't know. That might just be me, but so whenever I find things like that, when I'm kind of looking at targets, I'm like, I want to take an image of that. Even if it just looks like a star, I just like the idea that that star is actually a galaxy, you know, maybe the size of the Milky Way, just much further away. And it's just an accident of perspective that it looks like a star in the nebula. But yeah. Yep. Yep. But yeah, I do I still need to do a video about that. I always say that. I there's a lot of videos that I keep saying I need to do, but not just ones where it's like an abstract, oh, I should do this. I actually have material and like imaging that I've done, uh, kind of this quest I had earlier this year, maybe early summer, or maybe it was in the spring, where I had found one of those kind of things where it was it was a galaxy, you know, that was tens of millions of light years away, not maybe low tens. And then I kind of looked at all the other targets. Yeah, it was one of those ones. It was kind of during galaxy season, so the Seestar like tagged a lot of the brighter ones, saying, "Okay, this is NGC this or that." And I looked them up, and some of them were, you know, like there was a foreground cluster, and then there was like a background cluster where there was a few galaxies that were like 200 million light years away, and then there were the ones in the foreground that were like tens of millions of light years away. And then there was like this, I was looking in on one of the online catalogs, and I saw like this thing, like in my image it looked like an oblong star, but the rest of the stars were round. And so I suspected it was an even more distant galaxy, but it didn't have any catalog number that I could find. And anyway, long story short, I ended up like backing into it by finding it was in some catalog. There was a redshift value for it, and from that I was able to figure out that was about a billion light years away. And so then I ended up going down this rabbit hole of trying to like image quasars, and there were a few that are like the one I liked was what was it? It was, which one was it? It was it M13? No. But M13 does have two galaxies in the field that are distant. It was M3, I think. No. M3? Is it M3? Yeah, it was M3. So in the field of view of M3, it wasn't this one. Like, yeah, there was this quasar right here, and it's 17th magnitude. So it was like, in my skies, it was really hard. So I ended up imaging it. Like I got hours of data of M3, which you normally don't need that much data for a globular cluster. But the redshift was 2.517. Cosmic calculator. Cosmology calculator. And I think it was this one I use. Yeah. So if I got 2.517, yeah, it was 9.1 billion light years away. So I managed to capture it, and I don't know, I got a kick out of it that I'm like looking at this globular cluster that's on the order of tens of thousands of light years away. And then there's like this little really faint dot that just looks like a dot. I mean, it looks like a really faint star, but just knowing that that thing is like 9 billion light years away. Anyway, I kind of, it was a rabbit hole I went down, and I was going to do a video about it. I needed to still do that video. And I did all that with my Seestar, which even was from inside Houston, which I was like, that was also part of the kind of the challenge of it, is like, can I actually capture some of these? Granted, quasars are intrinsically bright, but still, it was kind of a mission. And I should do a video about it. Solar and Mac friendly flow. That I don't think that one has to do with the open source library, because before July I wasn't using this really. I don't, or June I wasn't using it. So if it's from before then, it wasn't. The Mac friendly thing I think was I was actually using the iPad app, the Seestar iPad app, which if you have an M1 laptop worked on, and it's nothing like earth shattering, but I hadn't seen anyone actually talking about that you could run the Seestar iPad app on your Mac laptop. So you didn't even need to use a phone for it, or a tablet. You're kind of running it on the laptop. And that was actually what I was using when I was running the two Seestars. I had one Seestar was connected. I was using my phone to connect to one Seestar, and I was using the iPad app for the other. And so I was able to have two up on the screen at the same time. But it was using the Seestar app, Seestar apps. But it was brittle, and it was very hacky, because like sometimes the phone would lose its connection, and it was very finicky because I couldn't have both telescopes on the same wireless network, because like the app, either the iPad app or the phone app would connect to one of them, and that's all it would connect to. And so, but you couldn't necessarily control it. Like I tried. Like you'd say, okay, connect to this one, and it would be like, nope, I'm just going to connect to the other one. I think because they both are named Seestar.local, and it's like advertising the name, and so just like whatever one it hears, it ends up connecting to that. Something like that. Or it would get like horribly confused, the app would. And so it was kind of, it was painful. So the app was helpful for, I mean, not the app, the open source project was helpful for that. Yeah. Well, spoiler, I actually, because I was like on such a mission, I wasn't happy with, well, I was quite pleased that I got something 9 billion light years away, but I ended up spending way too much time going through some catalogs, and there's basically a few kind of efforts where they just are trying to catalog redshifts on things, but they don't do any further analysis on it necessarily. And so there's constantly new quasars showing up that are very distant in these databases. And so I was like digging through them, trying to find one that I could realistically image with the Seestar in the city. Like if it was 25th magnitude, I don't think that would even be possible here, or with the Seestar anywhere probably. So I was looking for like, ones in the teens magnitude wise. And I ended up, and again, I think that's why I wanted to create a video of kind of like the journey of where I ended up. I found one that was even more distant that I might try, but that's not going to hold up the video. But I ended up finding one that was, I think it was over 12 billion light years away. I want to say it was either, I can't remember if it was like low 12s or high 12s. It might have been high 12s, because I vaguely remember it was like, no, I think the one I forget, because there was one I found that if I was able to image it, which the universe was less than 1 billion years old. Anyway, but yeah, I got something at least out to 12 billion light years. Uh, but again, it's like they just look like stars. They're intrinsically incredibly bright. Like they're some of the brightest things in the universe. And so it's not like technically necessarily impressive. It's interesting in that we've, the it's been cataloged as to how what the redshift on these things are, and then kind of doing the detective work and finding ones that I could realistically image with a sea star in the city, and then just spending in some cases hours on like these star fields that just look like you'd look at them and you'd be like, there's nothing. I mean, it's just a bunch of stars. But then there's like that one star is actually just incredibly far away. Um, but yeah, that's the one I needed. That's the one I think I'm most wanting to do a proper video about. Just because I mean, it involves the sea star, but also kind of doing things that maybe people don't really think you can do with a small telescope. I mean, granted, technically it's not hard. And I know some people are kind of, you know, I've seen when I was looking for the information, there were definitely people who were like, it's a quasar, sure, but it's like it just looks like a star, like kind of like so what, but I guess conceptually for me, um, I just I just found it very satisfying that I'm like looking at these super distant things. Okay, this one actually finished. How much time did I do on this one? Apparently not that much. But this one's still going along. So this one is freed up. Um, so I should pick another target. And so the one on the right is the galaxy in the California Nebula, or beyond the California Nebula. What would be another one? The spider and fly I don't think are visible yet. So let's see. Let me turn off that. Northern Triffid. I'm going to try that out one evening, but I don't know if I want to try that tonight. Oh, and the Pleiades are just starting to rise from behind the house. Embryo Nebula. Every once in a while, I'll see something in Stellarium that I'm like, interstellar matter? That's interesting. I mean, it looks like a nebula to me, but for whatever reason, it's interstellar matter. How big is this one? It's not bad, but it's also kind of close, so I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be, like, this line isn't necessarily completely accurate. Let's see. I still, again, I get a kick out of Patrick Starfish Cluster. That's such random names. There doesn't seem to be much down here. What is that one? That looks small. Just trying to find things of interest. Maybe I do the fossil footprint, although that I think that one was kind of a low surface brightness one. I like things where I can start seeing something reasonably quickly. Or at least I don't want to have two different targets that are just kind of, what is this? Huh. I don't want to have two targets that are kind of slow to slow to bake. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think that's kind of what I kind of why I did it, and just yeah, just thinking about it. Well, because like what started happening is I saw one that was like 2.5 billion. Well, no, what it started with, what where this all started is I was looking at a particularly it was a supernova in that galaxy that was like 40 million light years away, and then just thinking this the light from this supernova left as Earth was had finally recovered from the asteroid from the dinosaurs. Because I tried to do the math on it, and I was like, okay, that's kind of trippy. And then like I'm finding these, and then I find like a quasar that predates the solar system, and I'm just like, I mean, where the light was emitted before the solar system existed, and I'm just like, yeah, it just got kind of crazier and crazier as I'm like thinking about these things, and especially as I kept pushing farther and farther. Um, and again, it's I guess also I get a kick that it's not just that I'm sitting in my house, but that I'm like I captured these photons that were emitted when the universe was much younger by a little telescope sitting in my backyard. That I think is kind of cool. Helix. Yeah, Helix. I've done the Helix, but let's see if I can actually. The only problem right now is the moon's right over there. Well, although with, it might be a good test, like a stress test with the, oh, nope, it's behind the house. Bummer. Um, I was thinking it would be a good stress test of the light pollution filter just to try to, with the moon relatively close. Let's see if there's anything else in here we could try to find just to stress it out. It's funny, like stellarium just like dims all the stars when the moon's on the fin. It's like, oh, can't see it. Could try imaging the moon. No, no. Yeah, I'll skip the moon. See, I ended up turning on quasars and stellarium. Just can't help myself. That one's not that far. I mean, compared to some of the other quasars. No, I'm just using the stock light pollution filter. Although that's come up recently, and I do have a dual. I do have a dual narrowband filter that I've been wanting to test on it. And I've seen other people who have used it, and I'm curious how it works with my sky. I just need to get the adapter, and I was gonna 3D print the adapter. I'd bought some of the like some Seestar like a dew shield, um, but I don't have the filter adapter, and I need to print that out or order it, and then and I do want to test that out just to see how well it works on my skies. Um, Especially given that mine are so pathologically bad. Um, I mean, it's not like I haven't used one of the scientific light pollution filter sensors, but I used a phone app, and it definitely kind of agreed with what I thought it was and what I based on what I can see visually. Um, it is definitely a very solid Bortle 9. Not just barely. It's very very much a Bortle 9. Um, oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Houston's bad. I mean, Metro Houston's like 7 million people. And we get we get, and I'm like in the center of it. And we also get like a lot of haze, like subtropical haze, which is pretty bad. But yeah, I will give you that. The clouds, that, that, uh, that definitely could be a problem in Seattle. Um, just wondering, do I want to do Northern Triffid? I'm just kind of, I don't think I imaged Northern Triffid. I'm just intrigued by this. It's not like the biggest target, but it's big enough. So let's try this. So this one is idle and image. And you can manually, I mean, originally you had to like key in the coordinates yourself, but then we have a couple different ways of getting to it. You can do the search. You can click search here and it'll pre-fill things, but it also has, you can copy and paste coordinates. You can also retrieve the coordinates from Stellarium, which is what I've been doing mostly tonight. And then one other thing that I do like about this, there's little bits of functionality where it's like it's maybe not a huge win versus using the app. But one thing that when we added this, I didn't add it, but when this was added, it's using a Simbad lookup. So it has like so many targets that are not in the Seestar catalog, probably because they have to have the catalog locally, whereas this is using connection to the internet. I mean, it's going out over the internet to the Simbad catalog, and or look at service, and so it's able to like look up just all kinds of random stuff. And I mean, sometimes you run into problems, but it's nice being able to look up like SH2 targets and Bernard catalog items and, Able catalog and all kinds of other just random Caldwell objects and stuff. You can just look up whatever number you have if it's one of many catalogs, and it'll pull up the coordinate, which is great. I really appreciate that one. So I'm going to do 30 minutes extra gain, and just because I don't think I've imaged this target yet. The Northern Triffid, and it's got this other nebula here too, so that'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Now the live view functionality, sometimes it can be a bit flaky, but in full disclosure, it by default when you run it, you have to go into the configuration and turn on an experimental flag, not because it will cause any harm, but just because it's got, sometimes will be unstable. Sometimes it's pretty stable, but then, and again, some of these are me problems, because there can be 2 or 3 different connections open to the web server on each of these screens, and there's a 6 connection limit with HTTP 1.1. So unfortunately, sometimes it's just a me problem because I'm trying to show 2 telescopes at once, and yeah, so sometimes it's not anything. Yeah, I manually triggered the focus at the beginning. So I pointed at a target, like I'll pick a bright star, and then I click here and it'll trigger the autofocus. Like, yeah, there was a whole discussion about it, because like, especially when you're doing mosaics, if the autofocus failed, it would just fail the whole panel and just go on to the next one, which was kind of not necessarily what you want. And so like in my case, I'll autofocus at the beginning of the evening. Now, now that we're heading though into fall, and like here the temperature tends to be pretty stable like the first few hours after sunset. Uh, but in the fall, it sometimes will drop more quickly into the evening. So I will probably either start checking that box more often, uh, like not on every target as I'm going on through the night, but uh, I will uh, I will definitely probably trigger it more often. And one thing you can do with the schedule is you can actually trigger an autofocus. So like you can have a number of steps, and then every third target you can just trigger a standalone autofocus. Um, that way it doesn't like fail an entire panel. But yeah, so I good question. I definitely forced an autofocus at the very like step one in the evening. Yeah, it's got yeah. Is this actually loading? See, this is what I was talking about, where it sometimes ends up like being non-agreeable, and again, sometimes it's because it's the fact I'm doing two telescopes at once, and I'm running into like there was a few, what was it, a few streams ago, there were a few streams where I actually had two different browsers open. I had Chrome and Arc, just to kind of work around that maximum of six connections per browser. But then it seemed like it was reasonably stable, but it finally came up. So this is the northern Trifid that it's starting. The SNR needs to be fixed, but I mean it is it it is it is a number that does correlate to the red glow of the Trifid. I mean, this isn't the like other Trifid. This is the one that's by the Lagoon Nebula. This is, I guess, the northern Trifid. So it's like a bit not quite as bright as the Trifid Nebula. It's just like sometimes you have like, the whirlpool or pinwheel or whatever it is galaxy, and then there's a southern one that's like a different one, which may or may not be comparable, or it might be a lot smaller, or it might be bigger. But in this case, it's the other Trifid, which is why I was kind of intrigued by it. And this one finished too. So this one's finally done. So now I have another thing I need to figure out, another target I need to find. Although I am kind of probably getting to the point where I probably am not going to do too many more targets at this point. I mean, I'm U.S. Central, so it's already like 11:40 here, so, or 11:39. I wonder if I could try. I don't know if this is actually visible. I mean, because this roof outline isn't 100% accurate. Part of me wants to try getting the Pleiades, because I don't think I've imaged it yet, since it's come around into the morning and now mid evening sky. Embryo Nebula. That looks pretty small though. Actually, that looks interesting. The Phantom Tiara. Like some of the names on these. I'll try it out. NGC 1333. We'll do two different nebulas to kind of finish up the night. And I think these will be the last targets for the night. pull the coordinates. Embryo nebula. I'll do 30 minutes just to get it past midnight. Use light pollution. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of functionality added. I mean, we have this commands page. This is really new. This came out in the last few days. When using the Seestar app, the app already stacks the frames for you. Yes. Yeah. It's the same. I mean, like what we're viewing here is basically what the Seestar is doing. I mean, it's generally not it's like the Seestar is still doing what it does. It's still capturing images. It's still saving the frames. This is just in some ways a better controller. In some ways, a better controller with more knobs, things you can control with it, some functionality layered on top of it, like the mosaics, the schedules. But like some of the knobs, like the fact I can change the gain. There's you can change preview duration. You can set the exposure to duration to times that aren't supported by the app. Like there's people who run their Seestars equatorial, and you can set, like the app had 10, 20, and 30 second. You could set it to 60 seconds using this. So the Seestar is still saving stuff to itself. Now, that said, there's two things that are to note. So we have this settings page that kind of exposes some of those, things that you normally don't have control over, like the dither interval, the stacking exposure length. The normal preview is like half a second. I have mine set to 2 seconds since my skies are so bad. It shows more detail that way. This is the save subframes that the Seestar has. You can also save the failed frames, this flag, and it'll save them on the Seestar, but they'll be named like underscore failed, .jpeg and .fit. And so you can then take those frames, and sometimes they actually process just fine in Serial or other software. It's just the Seestar rejected it, not because the things were trailing, but it just couldn't find enough stars to match or something, or maybe there was a lot of field rotation and it was getting confused. Because one thing I had noticed when I processed some targets that had a lot of field rotation, depending on what options I picked for Serial, the results could end up looking different from the Seestar stack, because the Seestar stack basically starts with a first frame and then stacks everything relative to that. But in Serial, you can tell it to find the best frame to start to align every other frame, which could end up being like the middle frame of the series. And so yeah, I mean, anyway, but you can save the failed frames, which is actually helpful sometimes, because a lot of times it's just rejecting it for reasons that, you can work around in Serial and PixInsight. And so you get extra data that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to process, and the Seestar won't even like save those failed frames normally, but this flag, it'll start saving them. But like, and then there's things you can do with the commands where you can, I mean, these are like basically correspond to API calls. You can trigger, like one thing I've noticed, sometimes if the session's been going on for a while, I'll start getting a lot of noise on one of my telescopes. And I found recently that I've heard other people do this, but basically I force a new dark acquisition on the Seestar. Basically, when you do the first target and it says it's like, what is it, figuring out, like calibrating the image or whatever, and it goes dark and it's taking dark frames internally, you can force that through this. And I've done that. I did that a few days ago, and I was getting like all kinds of artifacts. And then on one of the telescopes, and I forced a dark frame, and then everything else after that was clean, which was kind of interesting and also kind of gratifying that I was able to do that without like power cycling. You can also manually force the dark filter from the filter wheel, which I think there's some things I'm just kind of starting to explore with that, because one of the things this is doing, this live view, is it's the same as the app. It's, if you're in preview mode, it's streaming back frames, there's that setting where you can change the length of the frame, the preview frame, not the imaging frame, but the preview frame. I actually was playing around with it where I saved it. I changed the preview frame to 10 seconds. So the same as the normal exposure. And there's actually code in here now that's really highly experimental, where it'll actually save out those streamed frames as fit files. Now, what I was doing with it is I actually was using Serial to live stack. So I was basically running this in the background and having it write out frames, preview frames. And then I was using Serial, and you could use like some other software like SharpCap and do live stacking, but basically you're using a different algorithm, which could produce different results. I haven't explored that much, and I want to explore that more, which also brings me back to like some of the changes are more cosmetic, but generally, unless they've kind of drastically changed it in very new versions, our live view when you're stacking looks better than the app. Because we're using a different algorithm. We actually lifted it from Graxpert because it's like open source and it's the same license as this. And so we just kind of took the stretching algorithm that they use. So for display purposes, it actually looks better than the app, which is kind of cool. So we're kind of like taking the existing functionality for the most part and just exposing things that were there that the app doesn't expose, and kind of making some adjustments to stuff. But there's other stuff we've been looking at, anyway. But yeah. Yeah, no, so did I actually start a target here? Is it actually live viewing? But like when you go, like right now, it's imaging and it's showing you the stacked images. But like when you're in the Seestar app and you go to a target, you'll see like this dimmer view where it's just kind of, it's updating more frequently. Like it's updating every, like once a second. It's almost like not quite like the streaming modes where you're like looking at the moon where it's a video stream, but it is more frequent than when you're stacking where it's only updating every 10 seconds or so. But normally that's half a second, the amount of time it exposes that preview frame and sends it to the app and also to our software. But you can change that. So I changed it to 2 seconds. So it makes the preview brighter for me. Like you can see more stars. But yeah, that's what it does. And like, because like if I have the light pollution filter on, it attenuates so much light that combined with the light pollution, when it's pointing at a target before it starts imaging, it's like so faint. Whereas by increasing it to 2 seconds, like it doesn't seem like there's any downside. And like, at least when I'm kind of checking things out, or like if I'm not actively stacking, I can see what it's pointing at a bit better. Um, yeah, 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 yes, exactly. The screen refreshes when it's not imaging. Yeah, but it's mostly because the bad seeing and light polluted skies. And then if I, on top of that, I have the light pollution filter turned on, like it just ends up really dark. Like I can see barely anything when it's in that preview mode. But by increasing it to 2 seconds, it's definitely more visible. And some of that I was kind of playing. The reason I kept it at 2 seconds, I had been playing around with it anyway. When I was testing out saving those kind of preview frames, and because I was kind of curious if I could just set the preview to 10 seconds, if it would be basically the same as like the subframes that the Seestar is saving locally when it's actually stacking. I was curious if a 10-second preview frame was equivalent to a stack subframe. It's not. It's almost the same. It's just the Seestar applies the dark before it saves the subframe. So it's a lot cleaner of an image of a frame. And I really noticed it when I basically was saving the preview frames and then live stacking it in serial. Like it was the left telescope, for whatever reason, it's a lot cleaner, the sensor. The right one has a lot more noise on it. Like it shows up on the dark frames. And since the serial live stack using kind of the synthesized subframes, as it were noisier, it like on the right one, it looked terrible. But then I I I basically engaged the dark filter, saved out subframes, and then generated like a dark frame, a dark a stack dark, a master dark, that I then used in Cyril's live stacking to clean it up. Anyway, it was an experiment just to see if we basically could have the Seestar imaging, but not imaging, but like it's basically streaming data off of it, not really saving anything locally, and then doing all the processing outside of the Seestar. Because really, like what we're doing here, it's still like doing the stacking, the dark frame calculation, all that's on the Seestar. So the preview frames, the actual save and rejected. So kind of, sort of, yeah. Yeah, you should be able to. And that's another experiment I haven't quite done yet because I wanted to get my wireless network in a position where I could get away with it. But if you go, let me see. If you go look at like if you look at sorry, I'm trying to demoing stuff versus like showing anything that might be not on stream, shouldn't be on stream. But basically there's sorry, actually, is there a better way of doing this? hold on. I'm just trying to figure out. But basically, if you go, hold on. The problem is you can't, like the way I usually would get data off my Seestars, I would plug it in by USB because I was like, that's like the fastest way of doing it. But if you, when it's on the network, it actually shows up as a Seestar. I mean, it shows up as a file server. And so when you look at it, you can, I'll get there eventually. Now, I don't know which one of the Seestars this is. The problem is they both have the same name, so it just kind of picks it. But one of the things it does is, sorry. Yeah, so you can see like I'm on the left here, I'm imaging NGC 15. Is this the one? 1579. No, so it must be this one. So this is the Embryo Nebula. So if I go back, I should be able to see Embryo Nebula. Yeah, here's the Embryo Nebula. And here's, I mean, it's a little slow because, again, my Wi-Fi needs, it used to be much slower, my Wi-Fi, but I've made it faster. Basically, what I've wanted to do and want to try it is have like a job copying off subframes that are in this directory onto my computer and then having software pointing at that directory and then live stacking. So yeah, you could do that. It's just then the network has to be good enough, and apparently mine is having a little bit of problems here right now. But yeah, that would be the kind of the basic way, and that way you get the calibrated subframes from the Seestar. Yeah. Yeah. Do you use something else other than the official serial stacking script? Yes. I've taken the serial stacking script. I mean, I've gotten the serial stacking script and, made my own adjustments to it. Like, it's easy. People do it and it's fine. The other one I often use is I'm firing up serial right now. It's still loading. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Some stuff is, let's see. One issue I run into sometimes is I think I mentioned this, my wireless network ends up in a weird, okay, here. So I've got serial here. I use, let's see. Yeah, I actually have a lot of scripts, things I've gotten from other, like online from others. Is this okay? And some things, the AIA ones are ones where I basically took the serial script and just tweaked it. But then I have, like there's these ones called Astro Barbecue, which is a YouTube channel, and he released a bunch of scripts, and they're kind of for the processing stage, not the stacking stage. And I'll use those sometimes to process the images. Sometimes I do it manually. A lot of times these days, what I'll do is I'll run these scripts, see what it looks like. If it does something weird, which it does occasionally, then I'll end up manually processing it. But yeah, for the pre-processing, I usually use the serial processing script, or like with some local modifications. Like I have ones where I've relaxed it as far as the number of stars that match, or you know, whether like I've been playing around with drizzling and with the development version, which you can download from their build server. So it's not it's out there, but not there's others who are doing the same thing, just to play around with it because it is kind of more of a proper drizzle. Um, but what was I was actually going over here, and I was just going to drop this in the chat. But basically, I know it's late, but just plugging the Discord server if you haven't joined. If you're watching this, it's a few of us hang out there. It's talking about astronomy and other random things. So it's also good because the I originally created it because people would want to share images, and YouTube chat's terrible for you know, pasting links. Or I mean, I can paste a link, but like being able to share a photo, or people, you know, if we want to share photos like astro photos, that can't, you know, you can't do that. And so uh so yeah, that's and plus I usually have Discord open, and a few other people who are on the stream regularly will are on there too. So this is starting to look up interesting. Wait, what I mean to do is zoom in like that. I have a feeling I need it. This is another one of those targets where I just need to get a lot of data. And this embryo one is kind of, I mean, this is noise, so this is another thing I probably have to get a lot of data on it. So is it possible to have the Seestar connected while also imaging? I don't think so. Because whenever I've connected the USB, like the app, like the official app will say, you know, I see the telescope, but it's connected to a computer. I actually I actually also tried to plug in a USB Ethernet adapter to see if it detected it. It didn't. It might have been that particular one, but I think generally they don't have it enabled. So there are a few people who have the Seestar right next to an access point, and that was one of the things I did that definitely helped a lot. Like if you look at some of the older live streams, like it was just terrible latency. I ended up moving I had two wireless access points, and I moved the one that the telescopes were connecting to. Like it was just a cheap little access point. I moved it downstairs because I'm actually on a second floor, so I moved it downstairs closer to the. It's inside, but it's like, oops, sorry, it's inside, but it's near much closer to the telescope. So that vastly improved things. I know Wiley Sight, who's sometimes on here, he's often on here. He actually has an outdoor access point that he put in like a few years ago, and it's been very helpful for this. But yeah, it's unfortunately I haven't figured out a way to get around wireless with the Seestars. Definitely joining the Discord. Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome. And yeah, it basically, yeah, just says it's connected. Yeah, no, I'm glad glad you found it good. I appreciate it. And actually, great timing. This one just looks like it finished. The Trifid, the northern Trifid, I should say. Oops. I'm like trying to. So that one's done. This one's probably not much farther behind it. But yeah, I think because it's now after midnight, I think that might be it for the night, actually. This one will be finishing up. Oops. This one will be finishing up soon. Not much detail in it. Might be something I have to try another night. Let's see. What was I what is that even supposed to look like? Yeah, that's not what it looks like. But see, part of this might be it's like it might be yeah, it's a reflection nebula, and so maybe I need to try this again on a night without the moon and try it without the light pollution filter. So, but yeah, if you yeah, for everybody anybody watching, if you haven't liked the video, please like it, like and subscribe. And actually, I'm probably going to be wrapping it up. I'll I do like looking ahead, so let's see what I will probably have another. At least right now, it looks like Wednesday night will be okay. So I will probably have a live stream Wednesday, same time. Well, it depends on the comet. It could be at 8, it could be at 8:30, somewhere US Central, somewhere in that range, but I'll send out well, look for the notification from Google. So like, subscribe, and turn on notifications cuz sometimes it helps, sometimes Google just isn't feeling it. So at least increase the at least it improves the odds. Oh yeah. Yeah, Astrospheric is great because it I mean they have a pay version of it, but like the free version's pretty darn good. Um, there's other tools out there too, but I like this one because it gives you a view of like not just cloud cover but transparency and seeing and wind. So it's pretty handy. Especially for kind of looking ahead to see what nights you might actually be able to observe. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. And I do appreciate it as always. And yeah, clear skies, and see you in the next one. Thanks.